Hello! Today we are going to be talking about distance and midpoint. So today we will learn about line segments so we can find the midpoint and length of them. You'll know you'll have it when you can use the Pythagorean theorem and the midpoint formula to find distance and midpoint. So these are some important words that we're going to go over today. First, I want us to look at this right triangle. So it's called a right triangle because we've got that little symbol here that means right angle. So our right triangles have a special relationship that we're going to do more with later in the year. But we're going to label these three sides using letters. So I'm going to call them A, B, and C, where C is always the side across from the 90-degree angle. So I'm going to draw an arrow to help me remember that C is across from the 90. So C must be what's called the hypotenuse. It's a silly word, but the hypotenuse is the name for this side. So that is the side across from the 90-degree angle. Alright, and the reason we use these letters is because they have a special relationship called the Pythagorean theorem. So that's this word up here. And it just means that a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So whatever the numbers are for these sides, they have that relationship. So we'll write it right here again just so that we don't forget. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we are going to be using this to find the distance or length of line segments. So first we're just going to practice Pythagorean theorem in these problems. So first I want to label my sides, A, B, and C. So C is that side across from 90. The A and the B don't matter which is which, as long as it's not this side. So then I use a squared plus b squared equals c squared. My a here is x, so x squared plus 5 squared equals 13 squared. Using my calculator, I get x squared plus 25 equals 169. I subtract 25 from each side, and I get x squared equals 144. And that's where we did a review problem on our second day of class. So the opposite of squared is what we call our square root. So we take the square root of both sides and we get that x equals 12. So this is just a practice problem using our Pythagorean theorem. I'm going to leave these two for us to practice later. You can try them on your own now, but you do not have to. We're going to look at this map down here. But if we drove a car or walked along this line, we would find the distance, the length of how far it is. Maybe it's 2 miles, 3 miles, we don't know. No matter which way we go, distance is always going to be positive. So we want to write that distance is always a positive number. Oops, a positive number. Because if you go from your home to Stewart, you can't go negative 5 miles. It's always going to be a positive number. So if we look at this map example on this problem right here, you'll see that all we did was take our right triangle from above and we added the two sides of it, the A and the B. So that distance that we're finding is always going to be side C. So if I label side A and I label side B, now I just need to use that Pythagorean theorem from above right here, and I can find the distance from Stewart to Peking Gourmet, So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Our A here is 30 meters, so 30 squared. Our B is 1200 plus 1200 squared. And we don't know what that distance is, so I'm just going to leave it as C squared. Using a calculator for this, you get 900 plus a pretty big number equals C squared. Simplifying, we add these. And that last step, the opposite of squared, is what again? I hope you said square root, because you are right. You will take the square root of each side, and you are going to end up with a decimal. 1200.37 equals C. If we round it to the 10th place, you would get 1200. The 7 rounds the 3 up, so it goes to a 4. So 1200.4 equals C. So if you flip your paper over, now you'll see we've got some lines on graphs. So exactly what we did on the front, we would do here to find the distance of line A to B. So this time I need to draw that triangle, and I can count the sides A and side B. So A is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this side is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I don't know what distance is, it's always C. So using Pythagorean theorem, I have 5 squared plus 5 squared equals C squared. And you can solve that for C. We're going to do more with those later. Now I want to talk about midpoint. So midpoint, like the word sounds, is going to be talking about the middle. So we want to find the middle of this graph, also called the midpoint. We want to see what's in the middle of this spot on Leesburg Pike and this spot over by Colmore. If I just look at this map, it looks like it might be somewhere around here, but I don't know exactly what's right. Well, using the midpoint formula on a graph, I can find that exact middle spot. So our formula for this is going to be an acronym, SAD, but you want to stack your points. So if we do this alongside, I'm going to stack these points. So first I need to count it. I count over 5, 4, so this point is -5, 4. And this point is over 5, down -5. So I'm going to stack these points. So I just write the first one, then I write the second one. Now that I've stacked those points, I need to add vertically. So we want to add vertically, which means down. So I'm going to put a little plus in the middle here. -5 plus 5 gives me 0. And 4 plus -5 gives me -1. That last step for the D here is divide by 2. So I'm going to divide these numbers I just got by 2. 0 divided by 2 is just 0. And -1 divided by 2 is -0.5. And that is my midpoint. So if I count this on the graph, I go over 0 and down 0.5. That is my midpoint. And as you can tell, it's kind of where I guessed it to be. So the last thing I want us to add is just this formula, stack, add, divide, on the front of our paper. So go ahead and flip it to the front. And we see that midpoint, we want to think of stack, add, divide. So that is going to be how we remember it. And a midpoint is always an ordered pair. So distance, you're going to end up with a number. Midpoint, you end up with an ordered pair. So like x comma y. Alright, thanks for watching, guys. Bring this to class with you and have an awesome day.